Ranger Reno here. Say, just wanted to reach out on the next adventure. As I say in most of my videos, I just go from adventure to adventure and have fun doing it. And bring you along so you can hopefully live vicariously through me. On this adventure, we're getting ready to go to South Dakota to shoot prairie dogs. Alright, so first you say, why South Dakota? You can hunt them or shoot them in South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana. There's lots of good places to go. My cousin Tex and I, we just ended up in South Dakota on our first trip 15 years ago and just kept going back. We go to one town and work a satellite out from there to different ranches. It's a lot of fun. Now, this trip is a low budget trip. We don't live high on the hog necessarily, although we do live life large, full, and simple. There's no doubt about that. But we do it ourselves. It's a do-it-yourself, DIY, do-it-yourself trip. And a lot of satisfaction comes from that. Now we're going to take the old Freddie Ford here and zip on out. We need the cargo capacity. Give you a little bit of a primer, however you want to say that. Tomato, potato, primer. I'm going to call it a primer on how we do this. So we go out there with primarily two guns, a 17 HMR and a 223. Okay, the 17 HMR, low recoil, very low concussive element out into the dog towns, so it doesn't spook them as bad. If you can get them close, which is a little hard to do this time of year, because by the time we get there in August, they've been shot at quite a bit and they're pretty spooky in regard to the concussion element. But that 17 HMR is just kind of a, and off she goes at, holy mackerel, 1,700, 1,800 feet per second, I think, or something. You can easily shoot out to 200 yards with a 17, and your only enemy really is windage. You don't want a lot of wind because that little 17 grain bullet is going to drift fast, although you can compensate if the wind is consistent, which if it's variable, well, good luck. You're wasting ammo a lot at that point in time. The 223, we use a bull barrel, 26-inch barrel. We have vortex scopes on them, tactical scopes with a Christmas tree reticle that provides you with essentially 120 points of reference in elevation and windage, because we've shot them, well, my personal best is 658 yards. And we shoot them everywhere from there on back. But generally, you pick them off at the 17 level out to about 200, then you pick up the 223 and start going out, reaching out to touch somebody, as they say. Now, that 223 works great. It's a flat shooting, powerful little round. Very little drop, really, even at 450, 500 yards. You can play it easily. Excuse me, but we reload our own ammo on the 223. We do not in the 17, obviously, because it's a rimfire. But what else can I tell you? We use bolt actions. We're old-fashioned. We like to do it the old-fashioned way, all right? We take one shot and we judge our POI, point of impact, and then make a compensation from there with the reticles, not with the turrets, okay? We do not readjust our scopes. We keep them at 0 at all times and work the tactical crosshairs to compensate for windage and elevation. Now, the nice thing is, Cousin Tex and I each have the same scope. If he finishes a round or a salvo and it's my turn, he can tell me at that particular range he's shooting, let's say, 4 hash marks down and 5 hash marks to the right if we've got wind. That is really beneficial and helps us zero in quickly. I mentioned salvo. Okay, so that's a round of bullets that you're going to shoot. In the case of what we do, we like to shoot 5-round salvos. One of the spots with powerful binoculars. Spotting scope I don't think is the best idea because you're doing it with a single eye. Binos, you can rest both elbows on there, use 12 power vortex HDs, and just glass for the other guy. And you're doing a couple things. You're helping him find the dog, you talk him into it, make sure you're both on the same dog, you call his point of impact. Generally you can see as the shooter, because we have really good guns with really good stocks, which minimize recoil. But every now and then, you come off and you can't tell exactly where you're at and the other guy's giving you a second opinion if nothing else. So you call that point of impact. Once he drops a dog, you're scanning quickly from there while he's throwing in another bullet to find the next dog to talk him into that one and get you both on the same animal, so you're shooting and glassing the same animal. We do 5-round salvos because generally it's hot. Now today, good Lord, it's 100 degrees here, although in South Dakota where we're headed, it's forecasted to be, I believe, a high of 80 to 85 the next couple of days. So that'll be a much welcome reprieve from this oppressive heat. Doesn't mean it's not hot out there, because there's no shade, no trees. You're sitting out in the middle of prairie. We do wear big brimmed hats to cover our heads. We wear long sleeve sun shirts that are really lightweight, but it helps, once you start to perspire in them, you'll get an evaporative cooling effect that'll help you. And there's rattlesnakes, you got to be careful for that, so we do wear boots, we do wear long pants. If you are going through the grass in the prairie at all, walking to glass another area to take a leak, whatever it might be, there are chiggers in that grass and you're going to get bit if you don't have your pants tucked into your socks, sprayed down with DEET and or permethrin. I like both. I've got permethrin on my pants, my boots, my socks, but then I'll touch it off with a ring of DEET as well, because it's no fun getting bit by chiggers. They generally come in around your waistband and bite you, and you'll itch with that bite for 4 or 5 days. No fun. Hard to pull the trigger when you're trying to scratch a chigger bite. Chigger and trigger don't mix. Anyway, so this is a little bit of a primer. I'll walk you through the process further as we get actually in the field. We just find ourselves a nice budget motel, set up shop, and then, like I say, satellite out from there to different ranches. We always bring them gifts. You have to pay a trespass fee for the rancher, generally anywhere from $20, $40, $50 per man per day. That's cheap vacation, man, for hunting, I'll tell you what. If you were to go through an outfitter, you're going to start at 100 to 150, maybe 200 by the time you tip them per day, per man. So this keeps our budget in check and makes it quite within reach for myself and cousin Tex, neither of which whom are independently wealthy or anything like that, but hey, the good Lord provides food, raiment, and shelter over our heads. What more can we ask for, huh? Good. As we drive out, we set up shooting benches and we stay put. If the shooting's bad, we move, but otherwise, we can usually get on a dog town, find an elevated location to shoot down into a town. Generally, the dog town is anywhere from a quarter mile by a quarter mile to as much as a mile by a mile. Last year, we had a dog town that was a solid half mile by half mile, so 160 acres of pure prairie dogs, and we had an elevated little plateau above, probably by 150 foot elevation. They couldn't see us at all. They didn't know where we were raining down from, so that was fantastic. But anyway, that's the ideal location. Sometimes you can't do that and you're more on the flat and you're shooting more horizontal. You got to be careful with that. Do not shoot FMJ. Full metal jacket, no. In my opinion, it's stupid, right? You're going to skip, you're going to ricochet. There's cattle and stuff you got to watch for. We go hollow point, soft point, and VMAX. The idea being twofold. One, you get a really good POI on your point of impact from, a pop of dust for the spotter and the shooter to see. If you miss, threefold. You get a really good point of impact verification when you shoot a dog. And third, the bullet doesn't skip then. Every now and then you'll hear one take off, but very rarely. Usually with a soft point, hollow point, VMAX, it's going to catch the dirt, grab, tumble, and fall quickly. And you're not, because we're shooting hot loads 3,300 feet a second. You start to skip with a full metal jacket, FMJ, not good. Even with that kind of big country, it's just not wise. It's not the respectful thing to do for the rancher. All right, so I've gone on ad nauseum, but believe me, as usual, there's so many nuances to this process and this sport that I'm going to try to cover them as effectively as I can. Now, all that said, we are going to live life large, full, and simple. We're not bringing home a freezer full of prairie dogs, though. Don't touch them, don't go near them. Bubonic plague, pestilence to the max, rattlesnakes, black widow spiders. Just shoot them and do the ranchers a favor, all right? improve your target acquisition and accuracy of shooting, and that's what it's all about, as well as helping out that rancher. Enough for now. I'll jump into the next segment as we progress. I'm waiting for Tex to arrive. We're going to load her up and start driving tonight. So until then, Ranger Reno, over and out.